as well, highly rated horse. The one in behind him is number 2. They're just stopping briefly there so you can get a good shot side on. That is a Sahara Spear who brings some form to the table. I think he's very much a work in progress. We'll talk about visually how he's run his races, because there's a lot to pick out with him. He looks stronger at the back than he is in the middle and the front. He's a work in progress both physically and I think mentally too.
Well, Alvarado and Albanova, Kirsten Rosen, proper stayers, mile and a half horses, are in the pedigree. He is by Oasis Dream, which gives a bit of speed, but he's looked not 5 furlong material in his 2 runs so far.
No, he's looked like 5 furlongs was blowing his brains, to be honest with you. He's been run off his feet, but there has been promise from him, and he does have middle distance in his pedigree, so he might be one to sort of watch now, but try and project forward to the future. So you've seen quite a few of them, bit of a buzz here paddock side, which is great, and the jockeys are out.
Joe Mercer, he died earlier today.
So, as I always enjoy saying, this is St Peter's down in the Waywood, and it's heading up to the commentary box, where my compatriot, Tim Peters, will be calling all our runners home this evening. Many thanks, James. Welcome back, everybody. Numbers have goes down for the opening contest, breaking over this 5-12 trip. Some of the door of Henry, wearing the colours of Shropshire Hall, going into the start of the street, George down for David Evans, the yellow jacket. The Twins lady, the Joey Haynes and Chelsea band. The one who went to post 30 was number 13, Happy C, went to the yellow sash. George Joey Haynes, 5 each Johnson Horton. 3 wearing a nose band of Shropshire, dark blue with a triple yellow top, Sandy Baldwin and Tom Marquand steaming up. Number 12 is Global Fight, back in the yellow braces, the red boots on the sleeve. Now out of Lewis Evans for Chris Dwyer. Number 6, Splendid Isolation, with the yellow diamond and the pink cap. Alex Giles, weighing 7 pounds. Does the steer. Number 5, Farrow Gore, he's number grey jacket with the grey dark blue hoops, 3 dark blue hat, Tom Queen with Kevin Frost. Number 8 is War Brave, another newcomer, white with the blue athlete, blue sleeve, white harness. That one wearing his white cap, pronounced as Pat Cosgrove, 1 for Picota, Royal Coat, and got colour of the yellow star, yellow black, Charles Bennett, and two for Horace Spears on the post, red of the green star, white three, black cap, David Nolan, four Richard Hart. Number 4 is Danger Close, black colour to the red on it, very black and playing 5. Still nice and big. Second start for him, kind of walk along. Number 4, Danger Close. Same market for this opening race, pretty competitive. The moment the Scott Mountain Paris is number 7, TGV. Number 11, Flash Sheffy, got blue the yellow disc, 2-3. Sylvester pursues as a Nick Shannon. Number 11, Flash Sheffy. Taking over the minimum trip to the opener, 40-year-old, 5 furlongs the distance. Still a TGV, the paddock area. Jockey is on board now, Harry Burns, who's paying £7 for John Jenkins. He's very much on his toes, and he's actually bolting out. I think he's got to speak to the rider, actually. Harry is up on his feet quickly, fancy, but we have got a loose horse on the track.
You join us live as Teasy Weezy has unseated Harry Burns and is now heading down the far side of the track, which I suspect will impact upon the off time of this opening race at Leicester. It'll also impact upon the market because Teasy Weezy has been withdrawn. Sadly, what an annoyance that is for all concerned, having spent the diesel money up here, having looked forward to the run on his second start. I suspect, James, there would have been an optimism given how reasonably well he shaped first time up. Very, very frustrating for everybody.
I thought he had the best form in the book out of the horse around, but the thing was drifted like a barge in the betting, and the outstrip in him has really come out. 3 times he's dropped a poor lad, Harry Burns, in the paddock, and then took off horribly to watch, actually, on a little walkway onto the track. Harry's come off and now he's loose. Hopefully he'll see the stalls and they can get hold of him eventually, because it shows all the other 2-year-olds, they've all counted down and they're going to be perhaps walking around for a fair while.
So that will impact in many ways. There'll be a reform market. There's going to be a slight delay. It's such a pain for all concerned, those close to the horse, having got him up here. And it shows you how the difference in a run can do to a 2-year-old as well. Any horse, really. It can spark them up, can sharpen them up.
Is a good expression, especially for some crowds here for the first time. Jockeys would prefer no crowds for 2-year-olds because it's nice and quiet. It's very much like a work morning, whereas they've not seen, what have we got, 500 people around here, lots of noise. It's just a very different experience. Now, Hattie C, who she herself was appallingly behaved at Salisbury, looks like she's gone down nice and safely and well behaved, which has got to be a positive.
She will be in the second stanchion of stalls to the left, number 6 stall. Hattie C will go into, and she unseated her jockey before proceedings last time and had to be walked down at Salisbury. Thereafter, I thought was given a very educational ride, having travelled well, then got outpaced, and then kept on quite steadily under what was essentially just hands and heels. It was a promising start, something to build on.
It was. She's very small. There's no scope to her whatsoever. E. Johnson's house in the runner. Silver Bullet Lady, winner of that race, absolutely took off from behind Roger Charlton's filly to win. First winner for Decorated Knight. It was his first runner. Now, the 5th horse, or the 4th horse, Banner Moonshine, only finished 5th next time at Lingfield. They were upsides and they ran similar races, so I don't think that was a strong level of form. To be honest, all the horses that have run, they haven't set a particularly exacting standard. A newcomer, like the David Evans horse, who is our favourite, Dora Penny, and she was very fresh once the jockey got on, a bit of a bucking bronco for George Downing. This race is open to a newcomer, I think, Alex.
Yeah, it's whether there's a knock-on reaction, whether it's the sharp pedigree, whether it's a knock-on reaction from that shoe gamble at Thirsk on Saturday, who knows? But it's a sharp enough pedigree. It's a sprinting pedigree for Dora Penny. And Alan McCabe, remember him? A decade ago, he trained the mare to win a double handful
10 races,
of
92
races.
She hit. Not quite listed class. The owners kept hold of her and bred from her. They've needed a bit of time generally Obrisha herself, she only really came good at 4, 5, even 6. So it's a bit of a steady pedigree. But the money's strong, and obviously they've got plenty of horses to work her with.
If there's a couple of horses for the future, if there's a quality horse in here of some description, then Strozzi, the most expensive purchase in the field, might be it.
Strozzi is the one I'd take home, 20 grand yearling. Lovely and relaxed, walk around like he was on race number 10. I'd like to ride him out of a whole lot. Whether he's going to be quite sharp enough first time, because he's not particularly strong in the market. Yes, he's near the prominent end, but an Andrew Bolden horse, if he was working really well with some of the other ones, he would probably be 5 to 4, 6 to 4. So I can see why looking at him in the paddock, but he is a nice type of a horse.
Runners assembling down at the start then, and a bit of drama beforehand with Teasy Weezy unseating Harry Burns not once but twice, perhaps even 3 times. Initially in the paddock, he got back on, unseated again, then they went down the walkway, and unfortunately the handler, James, could only take him so far, and the horse just sparked up, shot clear and unseated again just before they got out onto the track, then got loose, and he's had to be withdrawn. Such a shame, because I think the owners here, I think I saw Nick and James Henderson, so that's such a shame for them, having come here, having spent the money on the diesel to get here, and they were looking forward to that horse who will now not run. That will of course have an impact on the delay and indeed on the reform market, and that market now has Dora Penny, a sharply bred newcomer for David Evans, as the one they all have to beat. Is that how you see it?
Has been well backed. This one was a little bit fruity in the paddock when George Downing got on, bronked away for a good 10 strides, but soon settled down. The form of those that have run don't set a particularly good standard. I'll give you the paddock notes. Hattie C was on much better behaviour than what she was at Salisbury. She's arrived at the start safely under George Adobe. One that was very alert was number 8, War Brave, already gilded son of due diligence. He was probably a little bit too much on his toes, perhaps, for his debut. Obviously, the withdrawn horse, Teasy Weezy, was badly behaved. Strozzi was extremely laid back. He was the opposite, took it all in his stride. Perhaps a little bit too laid back for a debut.
Yeah, that's what we're going to find out with him, how much he switched on and how much he's going to learn for the experience. Stall 12, 2 from the rail, which by and large these days, a draw near that particular slot. There's the loose horse, caught, Teasy Weezy, so thankfully he seems none the worse. He's had a good run around, so I suppose the only purpose all of that served, that it might have put some fitness on him, but let's hope it's put some smarts and maybe some manners on him going forward. What do we think regarding the draw? Because I was just about to say Strozzi's in 12, 2 from the rail. That's not usually the place to be here.
I don't want to be standside at Leicester. The only caveat is with a 2-year-old, you have a rail to run against. Over 5 furlongs, I think it's more 6, 7. It really does make an impact. But for me, I'm probably prefer the stalls in the centre just to keep the horses off the stand side, because nobody really wants to be there. Juveniles, there'll be varying level of abilities leaving the gate, and they'll be pretty spread out. So if they do want to shift free off the rail and head towards the centre, I think it will be quite easy. Interesting race. Like I said, I don't think it was a particularly strong level of form. So the fact that Dora Penny's been backed has got to be significant. Of those that have run, I think Global Flight might be much better on the turf. It's daughter of Mason, shown a similar level of form behind Novello at Wolverhampton on debut, when 6th at Lingfield on second start. This one, drawn 9, not a particularly great draw, but has known its job on both occasions.
And Sahara Spears shaped okay, not once but twice. He just looks like 5 furlongs is asking his brain and his body to do something that he's not quite capable of yet, but that kind of fits with his pedigree.
Well, Albarada and Albanova, proper Kirsten Rouse and stayers, are in the pedigree. He is by Oasis Dream, which should inject some speed. At Southall, he was badly outpaced before running on. Only good thing is I think it'd be quite hard work for 2-year-olds in this ground, so I think he will be hitting the line strong.
Yeah, his head's been a bit in the air both times, but I don't think he was helping his jockey on either occasion, but I fear that's because he's having to go so quick and he's not capable of doing that. But we'll hopefully learn a bit more about Sahara Spears. Stop 5 for him going forward, and this a restricted novice for horses in bands C and D, so it's relatively small purchases, effectively replacing the old auction maidens, this set in series of races.
So band D is if you went to the sale ring and you're 15 grand or less, or if you didn't go to the sales, your sire. The average or the median was less than 15 grand. Band C is 30 grand, so you've got the cheaper end. It stops the Godolphin 2-year-olds. It gives trainers a little bit of hope at the lower end of the market. I thought it was on looks in the paddock. That's not a particularly strong contest. Flash Betty's got a bit of Brighton form, so she'd have learnt plenty on those 2 runs, and the full sister won the 4th time out in a cellar for Mick Shannon. Mick Shannon's still 0 from 12 with the 2-year-olds this year, looking for that first winner.
Yeah, she got badly outpaced, but that was behind Richard Hannon and Archie Watson, more clued up, more talented 2-year-old. So maybe she ran as well as she could do in the circumstances there on that occasion. Splendid Isolation was behind Sahara Bear on debut and didn't necessarily build on that last time up.
Actually, probably the second best in the paddock on looks. Nice big son of Bungo in the Jungle. He has produced some decent offspring. The fact Alex Jarry, who's 1 from 24, £7 claimer, 3rd run, nurseries down the line. But keep an eye on Splendid Isolation, because on looks, he looks better than what he's done at Beverley the last twice.
And Danger Close we saw a couple of weeks ago at Chelmsford. I was there that night, and he was behind an Archie Watson well-bred newcomer, sharp newcomer, and a Mark Johnson horse with experience, and like many on the field, he was just blown away. He couldn't go any quicker.
Kick back, first time out. In the paddock, he looked as though he's still not quite sure what's happening, but again, he'll be brought along steadily. Handicaps will bring him forward. Picota, we can see this one on the screen. Havana Gold has had a pretty good start this year with his 2-year-olds at a decent sire. The Dan was raced, but had a mile and a half winner, so probably want a little bit more time.
So let's sum up. You wouldn't be surprised if this race went to a newcomer, even although Hattie C and Sahara Speed are shaped encouragingly.
Yes, the one I like is the one that was withdrawn. So it's tricky. Hattie C, I just thought was very small, but that form probably sets a standard. That 6 with Salisbury.
And given what went wrong at the start, the negatives there, and it was hands and heels through the second half of the race, you wouldn't be surprised if she took quite a big spike, jump forward here.
Strauss is the one I want to take home for the future. He's just been so laid back. The penny might drop a little bit late. He's headed into stalls, and you've got to respect David Evans' horse. But so far, the Lord Reacher's offspring, they have just needed a little bit more time, and was a bit fresh in the paddock when George Downing got on board.
And I'm hoping Sahara Spear races a bit more straightforwardly. Maybe 5 furlong races early season are always going to be too demanding for him, but he might be a nursery horse over a trip later in the campaign, but hopefully we'll find out about that. So commentary tonight with Tim Peters.
They're off. So racing for the opening race here at Leicester, the Bodie Hodges Foundation Restricted Novice Stakes, racing over the 5 furlong trip. Sahara Spear broke very smartly indeed. The yellow colours of Acclaimed Lady is up there as well. Picota with the yellow cap. Far left of the white cap is War Brave, just trying to tuck in behind runners. Down the near side, Global Flight is there with towards the rail Flash Betty. The orange midfield sit for Dora Penny. In behind that is Ferro Door as they race beyond the 3. Strozzi a bit outpaced early on, so is Splendid Isolation towards the rear. Sahara Spear going on from Acclaimed Lady down this near side. Picota being pushed along. War Brave is trying to challenge as well as they make their way inside the final 2 furlongs. Just in behind runners now Hattie C's trying to improve, being switched out. Dora Penny in the orange jacket and Flash Betty as well. Racing to the final furlong. 4 or 5 across the track. Sahara Spear down the near side. Running green. Dora Penny down the centre of the track. War Brave. Picota's in there. Then comes Hattie C. But staying on is Dora Penny. Galloping on to the others. And can't go with this leader. Dora Penny lands a bit of a gamble and takes the opener from Hattie C. Picota in behind that. They're followed by Flash Betty.
Another David Evans 2-year-old to hit the headlines and hit the bullseye. And this on debut as well, a few days on from Shoe at Thirsk on Saturday. Dora Penny, it is a little bit like Mum and Dad. Dora Penny has got a bit of speed and a bit of ability. She's come clear of all the others. Hattie C in that photo with Picota. Now that's a pretty tight one, but Dora Penny in the end has won it quite comfortably.
Has indeed, and probably summed up Hattie C, we felt had the best form on offer, has finished first out of those of experience, but newcomers have come to the fore, very wayward in that final furlong, and she's probably a little bit better than this greatest daughter of Mason. She's a bit fresh in the paddock when the jockey got on, a bit green in the race itself, but powered clear quite nice in the closing stages here. See her in 6th place, asked a question, and she's picked up quite nicely.
Indeed, always in a good slot in the middle of the pack. George Downing just had to pick his spots, didn't he? And often, and unsurprisingly, that tends to be up the middle of the track and on the outside. He had plenty to aim at. Looked like he had plenty of horse too.
Just here, you worry how far across the track is she going to hang, but luckily George straightened her up. The ones in behind aren't particularly going anywhere very, very fast, and she's just pulled away. Hard work for these 2-year-olds on this ground. I know there's not been much rain, but it was still testing enough. Runner-up, if he has finished runner-up. Picota's run nicely, bearing in mind a bit of stamina in that pedigree. Havana Gold's having a good season with his 2-year-olds this campaign. He's run well. Hattie C, very small, lacks any kind of scope, has run well, might just struggle to win a maiden. And we kind of discussed before, Sahara Spear, not really a 5 furlong horse, despite the fact he had the speed to lead the pack today.
Well, he raced